from the base model. So if the second-hand piece of equipment comes with an engine upgrade, make sure that's the engine upgrade you want, because you don't get a refund. It's the mistake we made with the Massey Ferguson 6S, which we started with, and then the Deutz came up on the sale. Was I upgraded the engine 3-4 times, and it cost me every time I upgraded it the full upgrade price. That was a big mistake. So you buy the tractor, one engine upgrade. If you're buying used and it already has an engine upgrade, you know, that should be your choice. The horsepower's too low, I just don't want the used tractor because it's going to cost me a fortune to upgrade the engine. Conversely, if it's got more horsepower than you need, go with it. It's going to make it a little bit more costly to maintain, but you can never have too much horsepower. Always have too little. And our Massey Ferguson isn't maximum horsepower, it's sufficient for what we need it for. It runs the small stuff. And we did, it's a philosophy we've actually run with. I was trying to think that most of the time you buy the tractor, you slap the biggest engine in it and go with that, because why not? It's the biggest engine and more power. But to be honest, the Class 940s that we've had are 380 horsepower. They're not the biggest. You could get bigger, but we went with what we needed. And the same with the AGCO, it was the base model. I didn't go with an AGCO maximum horsepower. We just, the base model was 390-ish horsepower. We just went with that because 390 was working for us. Just under 400. And I am leaving a small gap there, but as I said, not too worried about it, because in the long run this is not the final application. So OCD Farmer says, to heck with your OCD. Okay, so I'm guessing I need to figure a log trailer. Or a log forwarder. I mean, I could go with a log forwarder. We're going to do the trees with a chainsaw, because it's just probably easier that way. It's definitely cheaper. I think I already have a chainsaw to chop down hedges and trees that are in the way of my fields, so I'm not too bothered with using a chainsaw. And that's, back on Oakfield Farm, back on Lawfolds, it's what we used for our logging operations, just chainsaw. We did use measure, and I don't have measure installed, but basically cut the logs to length so they fit on the trailer that you have, and a tractor with a front loader and logging grab things for your front loader. So we've got the front loader with the Deutz. We got a front loader on the Massey, but I'm not sure it has the reach. It's good for moving stuff around the yard. We are going to need a bucket soon, but it's not so good for lifting rocks off a field and dropping them in our trailer. Okay. not, well, we're not halfway across the field, but we might be halfway done with the field. I say that because we're still to this side of the number. It's very streaky. We've got oranges, we've got yellows. But then we've done a sizable chunk at the bottom of the field, and we've done a couple of headlands round the field. So we might be halfway. We might be a little bit under halfway. Definitely glad this piece of equipment came up on the sale. We had to buy the applicator. The applicator was not for sale, but the tank itself we got for reasonably cheap. Much like everything. And I think last week's episode, no, it was 2 weeks ago. The end of episode dilemma was, should I spend money to buy a John Deere 8R or not? Because I know I want something that big. It's just that I don't really want to justify it at that time, but it boiled down to, while I might not be able to justify needing it because we don't have the equipment that demands it, having it means I can then buy the equipment that demands that horsepower. And that was that was the problem in the past. We had a couple of butterfly mowers come up in the sales, and it was just like, well, yeah, that's nice, but I don't have a tractor that can even think about running that. Now we do. So, and also big seeder, I can buy a big seeder if one comes up, because I've got a big tractor that can haul it. And it's easier to have the tractor first than look and say, oh, I really want that piece of equipment, but I just don't have anything that can run it. Because you can't really have equipment sitting around the yard doing nothing because you can't use it. I mean, you could rent tractors when you need it, and that's part of our problem. Coming up this year, we're going to have oats to cut. I'm going to plant soybeans, so we'll have soybeans to cut. Then this field that we're doing at the moment, we're going to plant barley in, but the barley is going to be planted in spring, so it's going to be a later harvest day than the oats that we have in. And so if I do have to rent harvesting equipment, I'm going to have to rent it 2 or 3 days. And that can get a little bit pricey. I mean, okay, we do not need the biggest harvester in the world because we don't have the biggest fields. So, excuse me. I don't know what that is. I am wondering whether I should get a new layer of gravel for the yard, just so that it looks uniform. Because unfortunately the textures used for the yards are not available for purchase on the construction editor. I should have mentioned that to Roy last time he was here. Just because he did pop in and say, hey, how would you feel about the cowshed supporting 1,000 cows and the robot being able to support feeding them? It's sort of, I don't really mind. my concern on that matter is, so we've got that big shed there. I think that's the same size as the one we've got. We've got a couple of smaller ones here. That is a four tank silo. And then we have the... Ooh. Now I think the seed and mineral feed silos can hold either or. I could put seed in the silo on that farmyard and put mineral feed in our tank so that I've got something available to feed the cows with. Just a thought. And a squirrel. What was I talking about? But yeah, there's going to be multiple days of harvest coming up, so I kind of need to think about the best way to do it. If we owned our own harvester, then I don't have to pay for multiple days, but you've got the initial rental cost and the daily cost. Daily cost is usually very small. So you can do the daily on if it's sequential days, then I'm perfectly happy to eat the daily cost. But ideally, if I don't have to spend multiple days or multiple lease, it's definitely more efficient to do all of your harvesting in one day. Okay. So yeah, Mrs. Osa's home now. There's some rocks I missed. Teenage Osa has a thing at church, so she stayed over after cleaning. And I'll be collecting her later. Maybe? Anyway, I think we're now up to the number on the field, so we have got halfway across the field and don't have an awful lot left to do. My lines are not very straight, I will say that. Maybe I should buy GPS before I buy the engine upgrade, just so I can do the easy stuff. So I'm really not paying attention to what we're doing here. We should be doing about 180 degrees and I'm doing 178. Yeah, we're definitely more than halfway across the field, and I suppose, what are we doing next? Oh, yeah, that was the thing I mentioned, was we don't have a lime spreader. Now that's another, actually. I don't know. I'm inclined to move some of the stuff we have on our farm into the new yard. just so yeah, it's more stuff that's used together. I want the grass care equipment at the cow farm because obviously we have cows and they eat grass stuff. And I may want another small tractor with a front loader for the arable yard at some point. Because why not? It gives me the option to use something else that I don't usually use. Oh yeah, I was thinking the Arian 600 could be a small yard tractor. It's functionally equivalent to a Valtra N, which is a little bit bigger than what I'd normally take, but we could just run it with the base engine. And then we've got a class on the farm, because sometimes you just need class vehicles. I think the sun's coming up enough we could probably dispense with having quite so much lights on. I'll still keep the headlights on because I mean people might miss a giant green tractor bearing down on them, so having the lights on will just help them see it coming. Actually, we haven't had too much problem with the traffic today, which is quite surprising. I guess not so much traffic comes up past our farm. Okay, I'm going to take a look and see how... See, we've only used 50,000 litres. And we're almost done, so I think our cows are very productive when it comes to the stuff that they produce. I didn't look at how much milk we had, but that's kind of getting a little bit out of control as well. And we now have 25 baby cows. No, not 25. 15 baby cows. So they're working their way towards producing milk as well. Cameo, welcome. Hi. Things are all well today, I think. We are now easily settling into winter. Those sheds are different sizes. Round roof and peaked roofs, and then oh, there's another one over there. This yard has a lot of storage potential. I think we're supposed to put root crops in this thing. Yeah, I suppose we could eventually get back into the sugar beet thing, because we did a lot of that in the past. But not on the plans. Yeah. We had our last hot day, at least as far as the weather forecast is concerned. I want to say yesterday it was up to, well, yesterday it was up to about 60 degrees. The day before it was up to 70. But we're now pretty much, we're now pretty much into, I have driven way too far. Drive back again. We're now into the 40s, I think. Oh, it's 36 at the moment, so yeah. bit cold. But that's what happens during winter. A couple of weeks ago I did put I bought a new porch light which is light sensitive, which this time of year I don't actually need because when we go out in the evening it's dark, so the light just comes on. But during sort of spring and fall months, you can go out sort of early dusk and come back later when it's completely dark. I tend not to like having the porch light on when I'm not here, but I need it on when I get home, so having light sensitive is good. It's not a motion sensor. I don't see the point. I think the thing is if your light is always on, then having a motion sensor light sensitive porch light is probably a reasonable plan, but we don't usually have our porch light permanently switched on. We turn it on when we need it on, so I don't need motion sensor. It's on when you're accepting people, it's off when you're not. And also we live in the country, so it's not like we need to, or we don't live in the country. We live in a sparsely populated suburb, so it's not like we have people driving past, walking past. There is no reason to drive down our street unless you are visiting someone who lives here or visiting someone in an adjacent street. Also, we have had the arborists out this past 2 weeks, I'm guessing. We were informed by the local council that they were happening, and they came out and basically marked all of the trees that were interfering with the power lines, shall we say. And so they came in and just chopped them way back. So hopefully that should mitigate any immediate storms taking down power line incidents, at least for a while. But yeah, they really went to town with the chopping and the chipping and the stuff. So you sit at home, you can hear the chainsaws and the chipper going on in the background because they're all around this area. But I think the power lines are now fairly safe from nature, at least for now. I mean, obviously not fairly safe from maniacs in cars knocking power line poles down, which someone did down by the Lowe's about 2-3 months ago. At least I think it was. Someone rammed into the pole and it split in half, which not a good thing. And the half pole's still there, it's just that they put in a new pole. I think the problem was it was on a T, so you had the main line running down the main road, and then that particular pole had a side road with power lines running off it down the side road. So when the pole got hit, there was too much stress pulling the line across the main road. So they had police cars and fire brigade there blocking off the road because the power lines are actually down. Oh, we're done again. So what do you reckon? One more trip? Maybe? Then we really have to find something else to do on the farm, because we are chewing up the winter work. Well, as said, we do have a whole bunch of trees we can chop down. I could just go in and chop them down. Then I can lease some log moving equipment and just load it, ship it as quickly as possible. Can't tell if there's anything growing in that field to our left. Yes, there is. Oh, yeah, no, actually we've got bales to move. We should move them, I think. That button there. So that should put us down to about 70,000, yeah, 77. We have 47,000 litres of milk. Ugh. I do need something a little bit bigger than the TLX to start shipping that, because that's 8 trips, and it's just down the road, but that's 8 trips. I just don't know that there's a big milk tanker that doesn't cost a lot of money available. Come on, tractor.